Rev up your engines! If your car's making a roaring sound where you go down the road, the faster you go, the louder it roars, you often have a bad wheel bearing. So today I'm going to show you how you can check wheel bearings and how you can easily fix them yourself. Now this is a hub assembly. It's got the wheel bearing built in. It's one piece. Just has 4 bolts holding it in. Inside is the wheel bearing, and your car rides on it. As they age, they wear. Now when they get really worn, they start to wobble. The first thing you do is jack up the car. In this case, the jacking spot, there's 2 little notches on the side that the jack fits on. And you want to get the wheel off the ground. Now it's off the ground. Now you do have wheel bearings on all 4 wheels, but in this case, I can definitely hear the sound is coming from the back of the car. So, now if it's really bad, it will wobble. This has no wobble, and then when we spin it, we don't really hear anything. We don't hear any bad noises, grinding. And we're going to check the other side too. But here's something you got to understand. A lot of times, when they start to wear, before they get all wobbly, you hear noise, but you don't feel any play. And it will only make the noise when you're driving down a road with a loaded weight, when the weight of the car is on the bearing, stressing it more. So, I've got this little sound listening device. They don't cost much, right? You wear them with headphones. And I'm going to put it inside the wheel and spin it to hear if I can hear any odd noises. You'll hear them better with a headphone with this pushed on the inside where the bearing is. All right, there's the bolts to hold the wheel bearing in. Right, so we'll spin the tire and we'll listen. And I don't really hear anything. It's not making grinding noises or anything. So this one seems okay. So we'll move our operation to the other side. Got the same notch over here. We'll jack it up. So the tire spins. Then we'll do the same test. It's not wobbling. We'll spin it. It's not making any real horrible noises, but I can hear a tiny bit of noise that I didn't hear on the other side. So we'll turn the little meter on. We'll go inside under. We'll stick it on one of the bolts that holds the bearing in and spin it. And indeed, I can hear a little sound that I didn't hear before, which means that this wheel bearing is starting to wear, so it's better to change it now than later. And I really suspected that that was the problem because a few weeks ago, this tire hit a curb that was sticking up on a right-hand turn. It was a wicked curb that the city let break and it was ragged. It hit it and bang. It's obviously damaged it. Better fix it now than later. So we had a little compressor we're testing out. Plug it in, turn it on. Then we'll take the wheel off. This has an adapter, special lug. There we go. We'll take that off. And off it comes. Now I already got the wheel bearing assembly, but I don't trust people. So before I put it all together, make sure that it fits. And in this case, it fits. Goes right in. There'd be nothing worse than take it all apart and find out this doesn't fit the wheel. So check that first, right? You never know. These are easy do-it-yourself jobs because back in the day, the wheel bearings used to come pressed in these things. You had to have a machine press them off, press new bearings on it. The bearing and everything is sealed and greased inside here. It's a simple bolt off, bolt on. So, here's what you do. Once the wheel's off, give your brake drum a little tap so you can pull it off. It's coming. Need a little tap again. In this case, this has a spacer, so we take the spacer off. Now in this case, it's getting hard to get off. So, get on my bolt kit, and there's threaded holes here. There you go. That threads right in, and so does this. We get the socket, turn them in so they're touching the drum, and this will pull it right off. You can take pulling it right off. Then off it comes. Now you can see on the back side here, 1, 2, 3, 4 bolts that hold it in. You just have to take those 4 and the one hiding behind here off. Now these are 12mm bolts. They'll bolt off, and off they come. Then we come back to the other side, give it a few taps. And out it comes. It's a little bit worn. Better to fix it now than later. And so we'll bolt the back side on here. Nice and tight. And now we have a nice smooth bearing, doesn't make any noise. And we'll slide the drum back on. Then we put the wheel back on, and here's a tip. You might have noticed I took the lug nuts off with an air impact. That's fine to take them off, but don't put them back on with one. In this case, you want to use a torque wrench. It's 76 foot-pounds on this Toyota, so we set the wrench to, that's 70, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 76. And since this is the back wheel, pull the emergency brake on. That'll lock the rear wheels. Stick your socket on the end and tighten it till it clicks. But first, you want to get them all snug. That one's snug, this one's snug. Now, what you do then is put your jack down. Now it's on the ground and it won't move. So, as we tighten them up, you heard the click, there's one. And just to double check, you can see that's correct. Now you want to do this for two main reasons. One, you don't want it too loose so it falls off, right? But two, you don't want them too tight. Not only can it be hard to get off, but if you make them too tight, you can warp the wheel bearing. I've seen so many guys put wheel bearings on, they use an impact crank, 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 crank. A year later, the wheel bearing's bad again because it's too tight and it warps. Use a torque wrench to make sure it's correct. And if you don't trust the tire guys, I don't at stores. When I get the car back, I loosen all the lug nuts, then I tighten them up to the correct torque specification. In this case, it's 76 foot-pounds. You can look it up for your own car. A lot of them are slightly different, but it's a big deal if you want this wheel bearing replacement to last. So there you have it. The next time you get a roaring wheel bearing, figure out which one it is and replace it yourself, because in most cases these days, bearing is a unitized assembly. In the old days, like I said earlier, you got to have a machine press it off, press the new bearing, and if you press them cockeyed, you'll break the bearing. This, you're just bolting it off and bolting it on. No more noise, and you save yourself a ton of money. And here's some bonus questions and answers. G.S. Musin says, is my engine shot? I got a 95 Toyota 4Runner, 220,000 mile V6. It's hard to start. I took it in. Now it's missing on 2 cylinders and idles rough. I took it to 3 shops and they all said it either needs a cylinder job, valve job, or rebuild the engine. I'm desperate. All right, well, I can just about guarantee your engine's gone. Those engines had problems. It's an old 95. They just wear out and you got 220,000 miles. Often that's the lifespan of that particular year because they didn't build them perfectly in 95. A lot of them blew head gaskets. You might check with Toyota. They had a recall on a bunch of those and Toyota had to replace the head gaskets free. But you got 220,000 miles now. I doubt if they cover it. And even if they did, they're just going to do the head gaskets. Your pistons are going to be worn. Your valves are going to be worn. Your cams are going to be worn. The crankshaft's going to be worn. My advice is get another engine. Get a remanufactured engine and put it in. Don't have guys try to band-aid like a guy says, well, I can do a head job and a gasket for this much money. No. Get rid of the whole engine. Those things had problems. 220,000 miles. Put in a remanufactured engine. Now, if you're lucky, you can find a used engine with lower mileage in a junkyard. I had a customer in Houston do that. They got a real deal. They paid like $800 to the engine having it put in it. What a deal that was, and it ran perfectly fine. But of course, it's not that easy to find good engines in junkyards. A lot of times they lie and they'll say, yeah, that engine's only got 65,000 miles and it really have like 365. You don't know. It's sitting on the floor, pulled out of the car. You have no idea what the actual real mileage is. You're better off getting a good remanufactured engine. Banana Greyhound says, should I buy a Civic or Accord? I'm looking at a new commuter car. Torn between a Civic 2-liter non-turbo and a 1.5 turbo non-hybrid Accord. What do you think? If you're cheap like me, get the Civic when it costs less. But the 2-liter 4-cylinder engine, I just checked one out. It is going to run forever because it's not turbo. It's simpler. It's got less pressure in it, right? Now the Accord, even though it's a smaller engine, 1.5, it's a turbo and it's a faster vehicle, so it's got more zoom. I would buy the Civic because I'd last longer. A lot of people will buy the Accord because it's faster. It is a lot faster. The 2-liter is a good engine, but it's not a racing engine, and it can be souped up if you want, but as it stands, it'll get you where you're going, but it's not particularly fast, right? The 1.5 turbo is. A lot of people want zip And if you want zip, you get the Accord. But it will not last as long as the Civic. That's all there is. You're going to pay a whole bunch more for the Accord, too. I go for the Civic. I mean, I got a 1.8-liter Toyota that I'm happy enough with the acceleration. And it's not a turbo, so I'd go with the Civic if I were you. It's going to last longer. It's going to cost less money. It's going to also get better gas mileage. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.